All right. Well, thank you so much for having me here today. It's a great honor to speak to you. I hope you're having a good time in the United States. So, my name is Hugh Molotsi. I'm from the company called Intuit, and I was going to tell you a little bit about our company and our approach to innovation. So, this slide what our company does. Our mission statement says we improve our customers' financial lives profoundly. They can't imagine going back to the old way. So our founder, Scott Cook, started the company a little more than 30 years ago. He was in his kitchen observing his wife, who was at the kitchen table, and she was their checkbook. And she was having a very hard time doing it. And Scott thought to himself, you know, my wife is one of the smartest people I know. If she's struggling with this task, there must be a better way of doing it. So this gave him the idea to create the software program Quicken, and that's how Intuit started. And you can see in the products we do today, it's still in that same theme. How can we take mundane, complex, frustrating tasks and simplify them? So we have a tagline which says, simplify the business of life. And if you look at the types of products that we offer, we have Quicken, of course, which I mentioned is the product we started off with. We also have a more modern program called Mint, which is web-based. We also serve small business customers, and that's our flagship product is QuickBooks, which is the green icon. And then the product that most people know us for is TurboTax. So this is how over 30 million United States tax filers do their taxes every year through TurboTax. Are there any questions about Intuit and what we do? Not yet. Okay. I'm sorry? Yeah, this is probably more of a political question. Um, but you mentioned the word global. So Intuit today, over 90% of our revenue comes from North America. And for us, that's a big opportunity for growth because companies of our size, usually the percentage of revenue from North America would be 40 to 50%. So we are right now focused on our global expansion. You'll see some of our products showing up in other geographies now, but in particular, QuickBooks Online is in 170 countries today. But to your question about taxes, you know, taxes are a very local type problem. You can't take one tax solution and then use it in another geography because the processes, the tax laws, a lot of what's involved is very different. But having said that, that is something as a company we are planning on tackling as well. That's a good question. There's so many other. Okay. So let me start to pivot towards innovation. As a company, we consider ourselves to be different than a lot of other companies because in our approach to innovation, we don't think of it as there is a small group of geniuses who tell everybody else what to do. At Intuit, we believe good ideas come from everywhere. And in fact, The best insights usually come from frontline employees, employees who are handling customer issues, who are working on, because they're the ones who are most likely to get the insights into how to do things better. So at Intuit, we expect every employee to innovate. So that's why we say we are a company of 8,000 innovators. And to make that possible, every employee is taught these two core capabilities that you see here. The first core capability is called customer-driven innovation. And customer-driven innovation, or CDI, is how we select problems that we want to tackle. And as you can see there, what it involves is finding the intersection of important unsolved customer problems that we as a company, or those we work with, those we enable, can solve well, and that we believe we can build a durable competitive advantage. So that intersection represents the types of problems we like to go and tackle. Also, employees are taught something we call design for delight. Now, design for delight is our version of design thinking. So design thinking is something you may have heard of if you're in the design field. But it's an approach to how you solve customer problems. And our design for delight has three core principles. The first is to get to deep customer empathy. This is the idea that you understand customers. You take the time to understand customers and their pain points. And we strive to understand customers better than they understand themselves. And the way we get to deep customer empathy, we spend a lot of time observing customers, talking to them, understanding what their issues are. The second principle is go broad to go narrow. And so this is based on the concept that to get to a great idea, you have to actually come up with many ideas. You know, sometimes human nature is, if somebody presents you with a problem, you know, you fall in love with the first solution that comes to your mind. But research has shown that it's very unlikely that that first solution that you come up with is going to be the best one. And so that's why we encourage people to say, come up with more solutions, come up with more. This is the broad. And in fact, sometimes the ultimate best solution is a synthesis, a combination of multiple ideas that people have come up with. So that's going broad to go narrow. And finally, the last core is rapid experiments with customers. So the idea here is, rather than come up with a perfect plan, a perfect design, and then executing it so you get to the perfect product, something that we know is a very difficult and many people fail at. Instead, we say, come up with a solution very quickly, put it into customers' hands, and then learn from their use what's working, what's not working, what needs to be improved, and then you iterate. You create another version, and you keep improving until you get to a product that's very delightful. So those are the core capabilities and how we innovated into it. What questions do you have for me? Yeah, so that's a good question. We often find these customers come to us. And what I mean by that is, you know, today we have over 50 million consumers and small businesses that use our. So sometimes some people come to us and say, look, I have this pain point. And that way we can actually say, well, we have some new experimental product. Would you like to try it? But other than that, sometimes it just means getting out of the office, you know, going onto Main Street and just going door to door and asking people, hey, can I come and visit your business, observe you, and see how you work. And you'll find that many times people are very open and they are very excited that, oh, somebody from Intuit is interested in their company and will let us do that. But the key is, and it's an important principle, is to get out of the office. If you're just inside a building, inside the lab, as they say, you don't really learn much. But when you're out in the real world where people are getting work done, you can learn a lot from observing them. Questions? Okay, so I'll move on. So one of our core programs at Intuit for nurturing innovation is called Unstructured Time. So Unstructured Time gives every single employee in the company time and freedom to work on projects they are passionate about. Now, you may have heard of Google. They have something called 20% time. I believe the first company to have such a program is a company called 3M. They provide 15% time. In our case, it's 10% time. And we give freedom for people to work on what they think is going to drive growth. And the mindset here is, if you give people time and freedom to work on ideas they're passionate about, good things will happen. Think of it this way. If you're working in a job and that job requires all of your time to get things done, if you do something that could be better or something that is a new opportunity, but you don't have time to work on it, nothing will ever happen. So this is a way to tell employees, look, carve out some of your time to go and explore these ideas. Now, have any of you heard of the author Dan Pink? Yeah, so Dan Pink, a number of years ago, he wrote a book called Drive. Drive, it caused a little bit of a controversy because he disproved a myth. And the myth is that, which a lot of people believe, is that if you want somebody to work harder, just pay them more money. But he actually ran some experiments to disprove this, where he showed paying people more money didn't get you more work or harder work. So in his book, he identified, look, if you want people to work harder, here are the 3 elements of motivation, the things that motivate people to work hard. And so the first element is autonomy. So hopefully this one is an obvious one, but what it simply means is, if somebody tells me, Hugh, I want you to go and work on this task, I'll work a certain way. But on the other hand, somebody says to me, there's this problem, can you figure it out? And then I have an idea of how to solve it. I'm more likely to be passionate about working on my idea than on the task somebody gave me to work on. So the notion of autonomy, where I decide what I do, and working on my ideas, I'm more likely to work harder than just doing a task. The second concept is mastery. And what mastery is this motivation that people may have to want to be the best at something. So if you're a computer programmer, you might say, I want to learn AngularJS, and I want to be the best in my company at learning this, framework. That can be a motivation as well. Okay? And maybe in your day job, you spend your time working on COBOL or Fortran or something that is you consider antiquated technology. But you're probably going to be more excited the time when you get to work on the thing that you like to work on. And the last one is called purpose. And purpose is the most important. This is the one where you're actually solving some problem that is bigger than your own life. It's bigger than your team. It's bigger than your company. It's like what Steve Jobs says, you're making a dent in the universe. There might be some big social impact that you're trying to make. something that's going to improve the lives of many millions of people. So that purpose, this idea that you're going to drive something that's going uh, to make a positive difference in the world, that can be a very. So those are the three: autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And the way we've designed our unstructured time program is really to build on these elements. The autonomy part is that unstructured time, employees use it the way they want. We are not prescriptive in what they do. With mastery, they can use the technologies. We want to support them in what they want to do, or they can learn skills they want to learn. And in purpose, yes, we encourage them to solve problems that will have a positive impact on the world. So do you have questions about unstructured time? Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's a great question. We get this quite a bit. So we run this program very informally. There's no required reporting. What we usually tell employees is that tell your manager about what your unstructured time project is. But the main point of it is so that your manager knows and can help you in your project. Yes, it's very possible that people can decide to goof off. But from our perspective, that's not the point. The more important point is that for the great people, the ones with great ideas, they have time and freedom to work on it. And so the benefits of that outweigh any downsides that a few people might be goofing off. No, so Mint specifically was an acquisition we made. Yeah, Mint was a startup. But actually, to your question, I'll actually go to the next slide because here are some of the big successes that we've had out of unstructured time. So the first one on the left is a product called SnapTax. This is our mobile tax solution. So it's a way for a user to start and finish their taxes all on their mobile device. And it was a team of two people who came up with this idea. And it may seem like an obvious one today, but if you think back 5 or 6 years, the notion that somebody would do their taxes on their phone, for a lot of people that was ludicrous, a ridiculous idea. Taxes take a long time, they're complicated. I need a big screen to view everything. So a lot of people said, no, that's not a good idea. But this team, they persevered. They said, no, there's something here. You know, their insight came from this notion that millennials, this new generation, they were using their phones more often than they were using their computers. Their phones became their go-to. And as a result, they thought that this is the place they would actually expect to solve their taxes. And in fact, what was also convenient is that if you are a young person who has just recently entered the workforce, your taxes are actually likely to be very, very simple. So they took advantage of that and they built a product where in less than 10 minutes, you could get your taxes done. They also use the camera of the phone to take a picture. There's a form, a double you get from your employer in the United States, which has all your income information. So the process is you take a picture, actions, click for some buttons, and then you are done. You had filed your taxes. So this was a very big success, and in fact, the tax preparation software field is a very competitive field. We have lots of competitors, but Intuit is the leader. We're dominant, and when it comes to mobile, we had a more than 2-year head start because of this unstructured time team. Now the other ones on here, the one in the middle is called Go Payment. It's a mobile payment solution. Many of you may have heard of Square. We were actually 18 months ahead in market of Square with our solution. Started with an unstructured time team. And on the one on the right, one of our businesses is payroll. We do payroll for over 1 million businesses in the United States. And they came up with this idea to create a employee portal so that employees can look at their pay stub information online or on their phones. Again, that came from an unstructured time team. Now, these are the big ones, but there are actually hundreds more success stories that we have. Because some of the successes may be a feature enhancement inside an existing product. It could be a process improvement for something we do internally inside the company. But all of those things, the company be more efficient and help with our growth strategy. So any questions about this success stories? Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just if I'm a small business, maybe I have a food truck, then I can take. Okay. Swipe. Uh-huh. Uh, yeah, we do this in partnership, so it's complicated, but yeah, ultimately there is a number of entities involved when you process a payment. That's correct. Well, unfortunately, the way payments works, we only have it working for the U.S., Canada, and UK. But eventually, we'd like to have more of a global footprint. It's an integrated system, so it's used with our software, yes. That's correct. You can, if you owe money, yes, you can provide credit card information or banking information so that then the government uh, um, will deduct your tax payment. But oftentimes people are getting a refund from the government. So after you file your taxes, after a certain number of days, money gets deposited in your account. Yeah, it's always a possibility, but you know, in our software, we try and minimize it. As I said, we take a picture of the W-2 form, so that self eliminates a lot of errors somebody might make. And we also have something called an error finder. So before you submit, we look at all the information, and then if anything looks contradictory or out of place, we alert the user to say, hey, this looks like an error, this looks like a problem. No, so the way it works is, so the government typically, when when you submit your tax form, it goes to the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service. They have people who review all your tax forms, and if they see problems, they will let you know that there is an error. Now, in some cases, uh, it's just a matter of the tax filer just has to fix the error and then resubmit. But if there is a problem that causes money to be spent, we Intuit say if it was a problem we caused because of our software, we actually are responsible. But if it's an error caused by the user, then the user is responsible. Okay? Okay. Yeah, I don't know the number off the top of my head. I think it's in the tens of thousands. Yeah. Yeah. Go payment. It's so you pay transaction fees. So it's free to use, but you pay something on the order of 30 for each transaction you process. Correct. That's correct. That's right. Exactly. That's exactly right. Okay. So um, one other product I like to talk about is Brainstorm. This one was also created in an unstructured time. What it is an idea collaboration tool. So in a large company, uh, if somebody has an idea, they enter it into Brainstorm. Anybody else can see that idea. They can comment on it, or they can say, "Hey, I want to join your team and build it." So this particular product was the brainchild of a group of recent college hires, because we were doing an ideation event and we were soliciting ideas and putting them on a database. But the database, they said, was too hard to navigate, and they said, "Well, we can build something better." So they built Brainstorm to be used internally at Intuit, but it worked so well that we had a partner company called Vistaprint. They saw it and they said, "Hey, can we use that too?" And so that gave us the idea to say, "Oh, maybe we can sell Brainstorm." And so today we have over 20 other enterprises using Brainstorm today. Yeah, it's a good question. It started as a product for enterprises, but right now we're actually enhancing it so that even if you're a small startup or a small business, you can get value out of it. Yeah. So actually, please, if you're interested, go to braintour.com and you can do a free trial. Oh, sure. That's good. Yeah, we our university recruiting program is we do every year.